Good evening. The regular meeting of the Independent School District 279 School Board is called to order at 6:01 p.m. on October 22nd, 2024. This regular business meeting of the Osseo School Board is being conducted in the boardroom of the Educational Service Center. The meeting can be monitored electronically by streaming online from the district website. An archived recording of tonight's meeting will also be available on the district website. Seated in front of you this evening from my left to your right are Director Thomas Brooks, Director Heather Douglas, Director Tanya Prince, myself, Jackie Mosqueda Jones, Director Sarah Mitchell, and Director Tamara Grady. Also present in the room this evening, Superintendent Dr. Kim Heil and members of the Superintendent's Cabinet, as well as our esteemed student school board representatives. I don't see Reason.
No, she's out.
Okay. Reason is not here. Antoinette Brown for Osseo Senior. And we welcome new student board representative Henrietta Slebo.
Oh, she's not here either.
She's not here either. Okay. And then student representative Gavin Chabika for Maple Grove Senior High is not able to be here.
Yep, soccer game.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Those of you can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Director Douglas, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board members, are there any additions to the agenda? At this time, I would like to make a motion to table the vote for policy 652 until November. Is there a second? No second? Okay, then that fails because there's no second. Any discussion about the rest of the agenda? No, okay. All right, all in favor of accepting the agenda as printed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes 6-0. The next standing agenda item is recognitions. We have no recognitions this evening. Wait a minute, we do. We have a scholar showcase, not a recognition. Our next agenda item is the scholar showcase. We're happy and proud again this school year to have showcases and presentations of some of Osseo area schools' amazing programs. This evening we have staff and scholars from Brooklyn Middle STEAM School. Board members will be moving to the seats in the front of the audience at this time, and Principal Kim Monette, will you please step up to the podium for introductions and start us off with the presentation.
Good evening, Board Chair, Board Vice Chair, and Directors, Superintendent Dr. Heil, and Cabinet members, our amazing student representatives of our high schools. Good evening, and welcome to our fabulous BMS families and our staff members. My name is Kim Monette, and I am the proud, passionate principal of Brooklyn Middle STEAM School. And we are so excited to be here to showcase all the amazing things that our students have the opportunities and experiences at Brooklyn Middle. So behind me, I have, oh, come on up here, everybody. I have Megan Havlack, who is our assistant principal. I have Shannon Commissar, who is our STEAM Curriculum Integration Coordinator, and Kaylin Bricks, who is our Technology Integration Specialist. And then I have our amazing resident experts that will be our feature experts tonight. So come on up. I have Raphael, I have Jameson, I have Aziza, and June. and they are going to be sharing a little bit about their favorite STEAM experiences that they've had throughout their time at Brooklyn Middle. I'm going to turn it over to Shannon Commissar, our STEAM integration specialist, who is going to talk a little bit about our STEAM experiences, our value-added standards, and a little bit about the events that we have coming up.
Good evening and welcome to our STEAM Showcase. I'm Shannon Commissar and I'm the STEAM Integration Coordinator. I have the pleasure with working with all content areas and grades to integrate our STEAM theme, which is engineering a global perspective, and these value-added standards you see here and in your packet. All students in their middle school careers will have the opportunity to work along and have discussions with professionals in STEAM careers, such as engineers, musicians, artists, scientists, and more. You will see evidence of these STEAM standards, value-added standards, in our STEAM Showcase tonight. Every content area addresses the engineering design process. Engineering design is a process interwoven in all of the content areas at BMS. It involves tools and ways of thinking that people can use in almost any situation. Each part of the process reveals information about the problem and possible solutions. Engineering design is problem solving, and this is an important 21st century skill that all people need to have. You will find out from our expert residents today how they specifically use this engineering design process in designing and preparing a menu for the Bulldog Cafe, creating their own circuit map of Minnesota, and how to create their own esophagus stent with Boston Scientific, which is one of our partners. Today, you will learn more about our STEAM experiences from our resident experts here. So what are STEAM experiences? Well, STEAM experiences are about creating transformative learning experiences that go beyond the classroom, where students are actively engaged in hands-on, real-world activities and can make connections to their future career paths. Now, I'm going to hand it over to our resident experts here who are going to introduce themselves and lead you through their favorite STEAM experiences. So let's give them another round.
Hello, school board. My name is Jameson Hawthorne. I'm an 8th grade avid student. I'm here with my fellow peers, and we're here to demonstrate some STEAM activities that demonstrate our learning experiences at BMS. First, I'm going to show you something I learned back in the 6th grade Minnesota Studies. We did many STEAM activities in this class. Something that stuck with me is called a circuit map. And it connects technology with geography. If you push a button, an electric current moves from a battery through a copper tape to a light bulb and back to the battery. This creates a complete circuit and the light bulb lights up. If the light bulb does not light up, your circuit is incomplete. School board, I want to challenge you in Minnesota geography. See if you can find the different places highlighted on the map of Minnesota. When you are ready to check your answers, push the button. My friend June is going to bring you the various circuit maps. Thank you. Now I'm gonna.
Do we get to live to learn more now?
Thank you. Now I'm going to pass it to my friend Aziza.
Hello, school board. I'm Aziza Dayton. I currently attend Brooklyn Middle School, and I'm in 8th grade. One of my highlights last year in 7th grade was facts class. We made a lot of different foods from different cultures, and we had the experience of hosting the Bulldog Cafe. For the Bulldog Cafe, all students worked together to make different cultural foods for families and staff during conference nights. Students recreate a restaurant and have different roles: servers, chefs, and hosts. We were very busy the whole night of the Bulldog Cafe. Over 200 people attended. To prepare for the event, we first connected concepts from science and art to our facts class. We learned about the chemistry of cooking and how food undergoes chemical reactions as it cooks. We also utilized our art skills to create the menu with photography and creative writing. Take a look at our menus from our Bulldog Cafe last spring. My friend Raphael Hill is going to pass out the menus. Additionally, we compiled all our favorite foods we made last year between the facts and culinary arts classes in a cookbook. We printed copies for you to keep and enjoy at home. My friend Raphael is also going to pass out the cookbooks. Today, our current Intro to Culinary Arts students made tres leches cake in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. We brought some for you to try. Ms. Havlack will pass out the cake. Thank you for listening. Now I'm going to hand it over to my friend June here.
Hello, my name is June Beatty. I also currently attend Brooklyn Middle STEAM School. I'm in the 8th grade. One of my highlights has been our STEAM Explorers program. The purpose of this program is to expose us students to careers that we may want to have in the future. For the program, different professionals come into our school to talk about their career and how they got there. During these events, we participate in hands-on activities to learn more about the career of the presenter. The staff at BMS do their best to bring in presenters that are diverse and reflect our student population. My personal favorite STEAM Explorers was when the dentists from the U of M came in to talk about their career field. We did many activities about oral health and looked at teeth. We acted as dentists and figured out how to solve different dentistry problems. Another popular STEAM Explorers experience is when engineers from Boston Scientific come into our school. They highlight the many different careers offered at Boston Scientific, and we are challenged to design a stent. Here's an example. In this scenario, someone's esophagus is clogged. The stent helps keep the esophagus open so that food can easily pass through the digestive system. In the activity, we had different constraints based upon different patient scenarios like allergies, and we were required to complete a cost analysis. We also got to use their procedure pal. Later in the year, students are invited to take a field trip to the Boston Scientific campus where we are participate in different manufacturing and lab stations and see how robotics is connected to engineering work. An example is shown with these Qubit challenges. Board members, pair up and try to solve this Qubit challenge of making the light bulb light up. You have 2 minutes. My friend Jameson will pass them out. Oh. Oh, not too much. Am I ready? You know what? Just. Do I want to do it? Okay. Ready, set, go. You guys have 2 minutes. Turn on the what? Turn on the blue one? Oh yeah, turn on the blue cube, yeah. There you Yes.
I don't know. Are they all for something?
Oh, oh. Okay, 30 more seconds. Okay, Rafa. No, not yet. Tell me where you're at. Okay. Just as these are. Okay, time's up. Thank you for participating in our challenge. I'm going to pass it to Raphael.
Hi. Hi, my name is Rafa Kilua, and I'm an 8th grade AVID student and a GPS leader at BMS. I'm here to present on the U of M Roadshow that I experienced in my 7th grade science class. This event was a culmination of what we learned in 7th grade science. We saw a real human brain, played a coding card game from a U of M professor, and learned about how UV light can filter water, and perception by the brain. My favorite activity was the perception glasses. I'm going to show you how they work. There are lines on the inside that blur your vision, and when you look through them, they distort your vision. In the activity, we put on the glasses and then played a beanbag game. What people typically don't know is when you first see something and then something else happens afterwards, your brain generally thinks of the second thing because it's fresher in your mind. For example, if I put an apple in front of you and then I blindfolded you, you're probably going to think of the blindfold because it's fresher in your mind. This relates to the glasses because you are supposed to throw a beanbag, then you put on the glasses. You're probably going to miss because of the distortion from the glasses. And then also, it distorts your mind. Do two board members want to try the game? Morning. Does another person want to also try? Would you like to try without the glasses to show the difference? No, they told me. All right. Thank you for inviting us to this space to share our experiences. We invite you to join us at our school for some of our future events that are listed in your packet. Thank you, school board.
Okay, who else felt like they were on Who's Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? All right, our next agenda item is the school board representative reports. And then we have reasons not here. Antoinette, will you please share your report?
Good evening, everyone. At Osseo Senior High, last month we celebrated our homecoming week and 100 years of excellence, 100 years of growth, courage, and success. Gradually, Osseo Senior High has become super inclusive and diverse. For example, at Osseo Senior High, we celebrated Beautiful You Day, whether that was expressing you, your beautiful culture, your sports, or just being your beautiful self. For example, the football players show their love and dedication for football by wearing their jerseys. Speaking of sports, fall was super successful for our soccer and volleyball team. They have been playing extremely well. Similar to being team players, our link crew and BSU have been team players by helping out families and freshmen around the school. This MEA break, Osseo Senior High had the most students on our HBCU tour, which was extremely informational and special. And we learned a lot, so that was nice.
Thank you. All right, and Naomi?
Here.
Yep. Will you please share your report?
Hello everyone. Just in case you forgot, I am Naomi Cooper-Greer, and I represent Park Center. It is officially the month of October, but in my opinion, it's come extremely fast. I remember the first day of school like it was yesterday, and sometimes I wish it was yesterday. Moving forward, I'd like to congratulate all the fall sports and activities and having a great run and turnout for their season. All of our teams have been seen to move up and taking steps up from last year. For example, marching band has been accomplishing new heights and beginning higher scores and more outstanding scores than last year. Now that our fall activity sports that are coming to a close, our winter sports and activities have been coming up into the scene and making an appearance. Asian Club has been in full swing collecting members like there's no tomorrow. Everybody's just been drawn to the activity and the creativeness that's been surrounding it. To continue on, I'd like to mention a few fun events at Park Center that have been hosted this month. First of all, I'd love to start off with the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. To give credit where credit is due, Latino Circle, our Spanish club that is held at our school, did an incredible job assisting those who needed help during the event. And trust me, there was tacos and they looked good. Alongside with that, there was a mariachi band and they played well too. So y'all should go next time we have an event. Alongside that, there's more concerts, including musical concerts that are coming up this week and that have happened this week. And they're putting in a lot of skill and effort to play their beautiful instruments and use their vocals. So please go to those concerts too. Speaking of food, there's a lot of food fundraisers this month. A lot of assorted items and gifts. A lot of club and activities like CSS, Sophomore Class Cabinet, have been selling boo bags filled with candies and fidgets. They've been selling like hotcakes. Latino Circle has been selling spicy candy and, soft and smooth buttery muffins. A lot of assorted baked goods, a lot. Lastly, I'd like to mention that our school has seen an increase of disposable items around our school. Many students and teachers have been talking about how they're concerned about, all the trash around the school and what we can do to pick it up and make our school look a little more cleaner. So hopefully, within the 7 months, our school looks like a brand new school. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for those amazing reports, Antoinette and Naomi. The student representatives review the board meeting packet in advance and are prepared to answer questions from board members on issues to seek student input related to agenda items for this evening's meeting. Board members, do you have an agenda item for which you would like student input?
I was just really excited to hear the reports. I forgot to think of questions.
I know we really appreciated when we could have students at our work sessions, which is where we really work hard on getting our ideas. Was there anything that you wanted to give input on that we did not ask you?
On the agenda?
Mm-hmm. No. That's good too.
All right. I was thinking our first readings were going to be on here. Next time, cell phone policy. For next time.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so our next agenda item is audience opportunity to address the school board, and I have a few guidelines for participation. Speakers will be called to the podium in this order: students first, then parents, then staff, then community members, and others. When I call your name, please come to the microphone and state your name, the topic, and whether or not you are a district resident. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes and address the entire board. That means not addressing an individual board member or the audience. If you have handouts, please, for the board, please hand them to either Sherry or put them on the table back there. The board and audience will listen and not respond back at this time. Also, it is, as it is election time, we are not taking any kind of campaigning for any individual person running, as we want to focus on the governance of the district currently. Thank you. And for the good of community, personnel concerns should be directed to individuals in the following order: the building principal, the executive director for human resources, assistant superintendent, and finally in writing to the school board. And with all that, I call the first person to speak, Celeste Runquist.
Well, good evening, school board members and Dr. Heil and cabinet. My name is Celeste Runquist. I am a District 279 resident, as well as a parent to 5 children, 3 of which currently attend Osseo Senior High School. As some of you on the school board may remember, 3 years ago I initiated what I was told was the first book reevaluation request in the district in 10 plus years. And I realize now that since that time 3 years ago, there have been several other requests that have been made. This book review request was driven by concerns over the content of a required reading that was in one of my child's 9th grade English class. There was lack of transparency for the parents and the guardians, and also our child was eventually placed in a separate classroom to read a book of their choice by themselves. We were frustrated to have to walk through this process, but we do believe that some good came from it. We did discover that there was a lack of accountability in place, and as parents and myself as also a community member, this is one of our roles for students in our school district. For decades, public education has been afforded to any individual that desires to receive it in our country. All citizens living in a school district are required to provide the necessary funds to meet the financial needs via our taxes. These community members have an invested interest in our schools, and it is their hard-earned money at work. We want our schools to remain community schools and not isolated to only students, employees, and parents. Eventually, my children will graduate out of Osseo area schools, and at that point, I desire to be a support to the district as a community member. Being held accountable is never an enjoyable process, but it is necessary to allow growth to take place. Our District 279 is surrounded with invested and engaging community members, many that I know personally, and we must continue to provide opportunities for them to come alongside of all of us. I hope that we can continue to come together as parents, teachers, and community members in the Osseo Area School District for the growth and betterment of our students, even if it means more accountability and more work. As a parent, I appreciate and am thankful for the community that I have found in this school district, and I'm thankful for them coming along with my children to support them over
30
the years.
seconds
Thank you.
remaining.
Okay, our next speaker is Jessica Boehm. Beam. It's all good? Jessica, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Boehm, and I'm a district resident and a parent of students in the district. Over the past several months, I've observed various discussions in this room regarding the appropriateness of certain books for certain student audiences. Not surprisingly, reasonable people disagree about whether or not certain content may or may not be considered appropriate in different circumstances. In the course of those discussions, I've observed some very thoughtful and nuanced commentary and reflection by many parties, including those raising the concerns and various board members considering those concerns. I've also observed some less thoughtful approaches or reactions to these situations, where it seemed as though some might be suggesting that literally any challenge to the appropriateness of public school library content for minors amounts to an infringement on, or at least blatant disrespect for, the First Amendment. As an initial matter, I don't believe it's accurate to claim that the First Amendment somehow prohibits the board from reviewing the appropriateness of content that the public school makes available to children. I happen to be a lawyer, but don't base this conclusion on any claimed personal expertise regarding constitutional law. Rather, I reached this conclusion based on listening to the discussions during those board meetings, including commentary from the General Counsel. Quite simply, it seems that broad objections to book reviews based on appeals to the First Amendment are misplaced. However, for the moment, I want to set aside the accuracy of the application of the First Amendment and instead focus on the consistency of its purported application. On the one hand, we have the idea of limiting children's access to certain specific content within the limited scope of the school library, and that is somehow characterized as gross infringement of the First Amendment. On the other hand, we now seem to have some positions of leadership seeking to remove the right of taxpaying community members to voice concerns about that content, but somehow that explicit limitation on their speech doesn't seem to raise the same First Amendment concerns. The contradiction is alarming. If one wants to be guided by the overarching principle that more speech and sharing of ideas, in the form of books or otherwise, is fundamentally better, why would we aim for less speech and sharing of ideas in the form of community input? Community members have a vested interest in how the children within the community are being educated with taxpayer dollars, regardless of any biological or legal ties to one or more of those children. Disagreement is uncomfortable. Speaking here is uncomfortable. I imagine many people in various seats today find those seats quite uncomfortable at times. But we can't deal with the discomfort of disagreement by trying to stop certain people from ever voicing it. I would encourage anyone supporting the idea of blocking community voices in this manner to first pause for a moment of reflection. Imagine a future circumstance where you happen to agree with a community member who wants to raise a concern with public schools, or you are that community member who has such concerns, but the avenue for getting those concerns heard is blocked. If we want to retain the right to hear from people with whom we agree, then we must unequivocally accept the obligation to hear from those with whom we disagree. Thank you.
Michaela McCoy.
Hello, I'm Michaela McCoy. I'm a teacher at Park Center Senior High School, and I'm here on behalf of several of my colleagues at Park Center. My grandmother was a first grade teacher and did not believe in book censorship. My mother was allowed to read whatever she wanted. Because she was unrestricted, my mother spent a large part of her childhood at the library, and she fell in love with reading. She passed this love of books on to me, and similarly did not restrict me from reading anything I wanted to read. As a multiracial person with a white mom and a black dad, I had many questions growing up about my identity. Reading was one of, and continues to be, one of the primary ways I understand my biracial black experience. From my board books as a baby to what I took home from the Scholastic Book Fair, my parents always gave me the freedom to read books that featured characters that looked like me. I decided I wanted to become an English teacher when I was a sophomore in high school. After I made this decision, I began to read as much classic American literature as possible, and so naturally, I picked up Toni Morrison from my teacher's classroom library. When I read The Bluest Eye at age 15, I resonated deeply with Pecola, the main character. Like her, I too felt ugly in my brown skin. I attended a predominantly white school, and I was one of 3 black girls in my class of over 300. I didn't have straight hair or thin lips, and our theater department didn't even have a makeup shade that matched my skin for our productions. Before I read The Bluest Eye, I didn't have language to describe how Eurocentric beauty standards were damaging my self-esteem. I thought I was just ugly. But Toni Morrison's book showed me that my feelings of unworthiness weren't my fault. The racism I was experiencing and internalizing as a young girl was a system outside of me that was preying on my humanity. I'm grateful to her, Toni Morrison, and for her book, for showing me a truth about my experience of black girlhood and unlocking a path for younger me to learn to love her skin. English teachers are taught that books can be mirrors or windows for our students. Black children deserve to have access to books that are mirrors, to books that affirm the experiences we're having, the pain we're feeling, and the joy we're cultivating. We deserve access to the truth about our history and our humanity, no matter how uncomfortable. And it can be uncomfortable.
30 seconds remaining.
Horrifyingly so. But in confronting these harsh realities, we're able to understand the cause of the pain in our world deepen our sense of empathy for others, and reaffirm our desire to make the world a better place. Black students deserve freedom and agency to decide, even in adolescence, what literature is and isn't appropriate for our journey to understanding ourselves and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Max Marr. Sorry, we're not responding to anyone at this time. Thank you.
Hello, I am District Resident Max Maher. I am here to express my deep concern about representatives from the verified hate group Gays Against Groomers who have spoken unopposed at recent school board meetings. GAG's leaders have proven ties to the Proud Boys, a violent, neo-fascist extremist group with deeply Islamophobic beliefs. And GAG has been ousted from payment platforms like PayPal and Venmo due to their unethical positions and practices. It's a red flag when an organization's preferred online payment method is Bitcoin. The kind of homophobic rhetoric GAG professes has sadly been shared by other community members, one of which who has appeared before you at least 4 times to deliver vitriolic commentary against LGBTQ+ students, including defacing a pride flag and displaying it at a June 2023 board meeting. This conduct is harmful to district students and employees. It is a distraction from the focus on a quality experience in education and preparation for life. Current workforce requirements and laws do not allow discrimination on the basis of gender identity and sexual orientation. To teach students otherwise, or to encourage them to opt out of understanding that, is wrong. Finally, while I'm not sure to what extent these reports are made public, I'd be interested in seeing an annual analysis of the instructional and library materials challenged under the revisions made to Policy 652, with breakdowns by the challenged authors' demographics. That's the kind of transparency I would expect as a district stakeholder. I think we all know which communities will suffer when diversity is challenged. Rather than acting as gatekeepers of literature, this board would be better served by trusting the certified professionals, such as library media specialists and the coordinator of digital learning and instructional media, who are trained to select materials that meet curriculum standards and student needs. Osseo schools face real challenges, like low ESP pay, overworked staff, and increasing class sizes. It's disheartening that some individuals aspire both locally and across the United States of America
30 seconds
to
remaining.
foster the kind of regressive thinking that will harm students, teachers, and their communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Deb Peterson?
Hello, my name is Deb Peterson. I am the proud parent of a Maple Grove graduate and a member of this community. We aren't here to argue vernacular. Every parent has the right to decide what their child reads. They do not, however, have the right to tell my child what they can read in the library based on their beliefs. Call it what you will, that's book banning. Osseo School District already has a system in place to challenge books. It's filled with professionals who have training in age-appropriate materials, and the process works. You may not agree with the outcome, but if you go to the doctor and don't like the diagnosis, you don't get a second opinion from an accountant or a plumber. Stop disrespecting our educated and fully trained library professionals. I spent 20 years as a military spouse. I spent countless months anxiously awaiting that unexpected knock at the door when my husband was deployed. This bracelet represents one of my heroes who didn't return. Didn't return from fighting for our freedoms to be who we are and who we are as a country is rooted in the free exchange of ideas, moving forward toward more enlightenment and inclusion for all, not backward, toward a theocratic monarchy. We've lost too many heroes to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Again, we're not responding to the speakers. Takoa Cochran.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Takoa Cochran, and I'm here to speak to the residents and fellow community members regarding book banning. So today I stand before you to address a pressing issue that threatens the very foundation of our democracy, the banning of books in our schools. This practice not only undermines the principle of freedom and education, the values that our nation has fought so hard to uphold, but also the educational system achievements, such as any degrees that faculty members may hold that allow them the scope of practice to do their jobs. The United States was built on the ideas of liberty, justice, and the pursuit of knowledge. Our founding fathers instilled these principles in the Constitution, recognizing that freedom of speech and the freedom of exchange of ideas are fundamental to a functioning democracy. When we restrict access to books, we deny students the opportunity to explore diverse perspectives, challenging their own beliefs and engaging in critical thinking. This is merely an issue of not just an issue of education, it's a violation of constitutional rights. Many people understand that the First Amendment gives them the right to speak on any subject. Probably fewer realize that it also grants the rights to read whatever you like. Challenging the language of the First Amendment is not appropriate in this menu. It should therefore not be entertained. Throughout our history, we have seen the destructive impact of censorship. Banning books not only silences those voices, but perpetuates a culture of fear and hate. My son is currently serving to protect our nation, our Constitution, as is his father and my father. My family marched with Dr. King in the Civil Rights Movement. I am here today as a resident, ready to defend our students' rights in our community. In closing, I urge that you consider the implications of banning books in our schools. It's not just an infringement on our rights, it's a betrayal to the idea of freedom and democracy that defines us as Americans. Let us protect our students' rights to read, learn, and grow in an environment that celebrates diversity and fosters critical thinking. Thank you.
Okay, LaDon Zevran.
Good evening, LaDon Severin, district resident and concerned parent. And forgive me, I don't have any notes tonight, but I just wanted to say something quick about, was looking at the agenda for tonight, and I know 441 is also on the docket, policy 441, and I just wanted to mention, I noticed that, let's see if I can remember, Roman numeral 6, part E, it just, it's supposed to be edited out of there, and I would just like you guys to relook at that, because I think it's more talking about just cueing the kids in on the dangers of what can happen online. I don't know, I've just heard too many stories of people that get into like sex trafficking and get back out of it, and then the initial problem was an online encounter. So I don't know if there was maybe a reason you guys wanted to take that out, but I thought, well, that would be probably something actually good to help kids be aware of if their own parents aren't warning them about it. And then I also noticed the whole section 7, Roman numeral 7, was going to be edited out, and I really like the language of that. I feel like it's some of the most substantial language that is in the policy 441, so I would just ask you to reconsider that. And just because I am one of the people who has challenged a book, I wanted to use the remaining amount of my time to just kind of talk about that. I think, like, I challenged a book because of sexually explicit content. It's a book that people could probably find in public libraries or buy it on Amazon if they must. So really, the issue is just getting it out of the tax-funded kids' libraries in schools. And I mean, I feel like we've said this a million times, but I also want to mention that it's still in the library. I guess only 3 people have checked it out, so it's not like it's widely used. But the main thing is if something is harmful, I don't know why we need to be offering it in the school libraries with taxpayer funds. I just don't see the purpose in it. Again, it can be found, if they must find it, they will find it somewhere else. I'm also a little concerned about how, I think there's only been 4 or 5 other book challenges, and all of them have stayed in. So really, I don't see the alarm.
30 seconds remaining.
And a lot of the comments I've been hearing tonight kind of remind me, I was just reading the Union magazine, the latest one, September and October version, and I saw the letter from the director, and she made it sound like she's afraid that we're going to start banning books about Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. And I just thought, why are they always trying to hitch, when they're trying to do sexual stuff, why are they trying to always hitch the wagon to the race card?
Time.
Because that's already something that we know is totally wrong in our nation. So
Your time
if
is up,
they aren't
LaDon.
getting
Thank
the
you.
public support.
Your time's up, LaDon. Thank you. Lori Wolf.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. My name is Dr. Lori Wolf, and I'm a mom. My son has graduated and is proudly in college now, and I'm a district resident. And I wanted to address the board policy and procedure 652, the instructional library materials selection and reevaluation that has already been spoken about by a number of people. Particularly, I would like to reiterate what Deb Peterson, I think, already said about trusting our professionals. We have trained staff that have gone through college, have master's degrees. They are experts in this area, and we should trust them to be able to do their job and select appropriate materials for the classroom, for the library, for the schools. I have a doctorate in educational leadership. I still would not presume to tell teachers what is appropriate and not appropriate for their classroom, for their students. They're the experts, and they know best. Second, trying to interfere with that process as a community member undermines confidence in our schools and in those professionals. And also, schools are meant to be a place of disagreement. Jessica, whose last name we couldn't pronounce right, and I don't know, I'm sorry, mentioned that disagreement is uncomfortable. It absolutely is, and it's necessary for growth. And schools should be a place where we are exposing people to diversity of ideas, diversity of experience, diversity of the world, and helping them in a guided, facilitated, supported kind of environment have discussions and work through issues that make them uncomfortable, that make all of us uncomfortable, because that discomfort is where growth happens. And our school district has a mission to create a welcoming and inclusive learning environment for all students. Representation matters. Students need to see themselves reflected in the curriculum, reflected in the materials that they are reviewing, that they are seeing, that they are being asked to read. And if as a parent you have a concern about that, there's a process in place. You can talk to the teacher, you can talk to the superintendent, the principal, the board, whomever you need to in order to feel like your concern is addressed.
30 seconds remaining.
But you should not be presuming to do that for everyone else's child. That's why we have staff trained in it. Thank you.
Okay, our last speaker is Ann Harms.
My name is Ann Harms, and I'm a district resident. I also have a master's degree in literature from a large university, and I would like to speak on the issue of freedom to read. As someone who has studied literature, I do not believe in book banning. I don't believe it is good for society, and I am not a proponent of it. But I just want to take a step back and say that this is not an issue of taking away a student's right to read. This is not about limiting a student's ability to read what they wish. The issue at hand is what materials is our school presenting to children, and do we feel that those are appropriate to their age levels? And I understand what people are saying, but if parents are coming and saying, I don't feel this is appropriate, I don't feel this is appropriate, I don't feel this is appropriate, then there is something there that we need to address and not just sweep under the rug. And I also am concerned about trying to limit district voices and community members on this matter. I no longer have students in this district, but that doesn't mean I don't care about the kids in my district. And I also find it interesting that you're interested in my input on a bond issue, but you're not interested in my input on other issues as well. And I feel like if you're going to ask me for my money, then I feel like it is okay for me to ask questions about how my money is being used. And I think we just need to just step back from this issue and just see the truth of what it is we're actually arguing here. We all love our kids. We all want what's best for our kids. We all want books that our kids can read and identify with. And I think when we hype that up, we take away the commonality that we are trying to achieve here. We want our kids to be safe. We don't want our children to encounter sexually explicit things before they are ready for them. And as a school, that's on us. We introduce that to them. That's not the library, that's not the internet, that's on the school. And so I think when we're thinking about this, I would just invite everyone involved to just think about, okay, what is my part that I'm going to bring to this? And how can I make sure that the decisions I'm making in my school are the best for students? And
30
we are going
seconds
to disagree,
remaining.
and that's okay, as everyone has said. But I think we just need to be really thoughtful and listen to one another, truly listen to one another about what our concerns are, and not just a blanket yes or a blanket no, because that benefits no one. So I'm just gonna ask that as you're considering this issue, we just take a step back from wherever we're standing and just look at it with fresh eyes and just say, if this was my kid standing here looking at this
Time.
book, would I want that for them? And let's just kind of go from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next agenda item is the superintendent's report. Dr. Heil.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Chair Mosquito Jones and school board members. Today I would like to speak about a term that has a profound meaning, and that term is belonging. While we often use the word inclusive to signify our efforts to integrate diverse individuals with different thoughts and different lived experiences, belonging goes a step further. It emphasizes a deeper sense of acceptance, connection, and feeling valued within one's community. It's not just about being included, it's about ensuring that every individual feels that their presence and their contributions matter. As we reflect on these contributions, I want to emphasize the importance of holding space for one another. Some of you may have heard it already, but holding space means that we're willing to walk alongside another person on whatever journey that they're on without judging them, making them feel inadequate, or trying to fix them, or trying to control the outcome. When we hold space for others, we open our heart, offer unconditional support, and let go of judgment and control. Our number one goal here in Osceola School is to build one community for all, where all voices are valued and heard. And when we create a safe space for all of our voices. Achieving this isn't always easy in our district that serves 8 cities, approximately 21,000 students, and around 3,300 staff members. Naturally, there will be times that we don't agree, and we may encounter obstacles as we strive to make our district a place that continues to prioritize our scholars and our staff. But let's remain committed to honoring the humanity in all of us and continue to work toward our goal of making this district always be human-centric. Our scholars are watching and learning from what they see and hear from us. The journey may be messy at times, and we might face conflict, but I am confident that through transparency, collaboration, and respect, that we will continue to strive to become the best place to learn, the best place to work, and a safe place of belonging for each and every one of our stakeholders. I want to conclude with our district vision statement, which guides everything we do. Our goal is to unleash and enhance the brilliance of our scholars, or our babies as I say, to thrive and change the world for the better. Let this vision remind us that our work is not just about today, but about shaping a brighter, more inclusive, and more connected future for each and every one of us. Thank you. A regular part of our superintendent's report is to share points of pride in our district. By sharing our points of pride, we're taking time to recognize and celebrate the scholars, our staff, and our community members who are contributing to our accomplishment of our mission statement, which states, to inspire and prepare each and every scholar with confidence, courage, and competence to achieve their dreams, contribute to community, engage in a lifetime of learning. This evening, I have members of our district cabinet here to assist in sharing some examples of this from this last month.
In the area of achieving dreams, Osseo Senior High School's centennial celebration was a huge success. The festivities included school tours, band and dance performances, food trucks, games, and alumni recognitions from each decade, which included alumni from as far back as 1949 in attendance. Happy 100th birthday, Osseo Senior High. Elementary schools across the district hosted fun run events in September as fundraisers, a great opportunity to get outside and be active together. Great work to all of the students and staff involved. Students at Edinbrook Elementary School recently captivated an audience of family, friends, and school staff with a performance in the school's gymnasium of selections from Frozen. The after-school production was made possible in partnership with Osseo Area Schools Community Education Youth Enrichment Program and The Beat, Bunce Educational Adventure Theater. In the area of contributing to community, Fair Oaks Elementary staff made the 2024 Employee Giving Campaign extra memorable, with staff events running throughout the 11-day campaign, such as a cornhole and pickleball tournaments, Plinko Donut Day, shucks, I missed that one, trivia and break time, and hammocks, all meant to bring staff together and encourage them to donate to District 279 Foundation, Greater Twin Cities United Way, or a nonprofit of their choosing. Way to make a feel-good campaign even more fun, Fair Oaks staff.
On the beautiful fall morning of October 4th, Osseo Education Center students and staff celebrated their new accessible playground with a grand opening celebration featuring music, popcorn, ice cream, and a whole lot of playground play and exploration. Special education teacher Angie O'Leary said, "We needed to dream big, and dream big we did. We had many purposeful committee conversations about how to include everyone at OEC and in the community. We are so pleased at how this amazing park and fitness path turned out, and we look forward to seeing you get your workout on." In the area of lifelong learning, Hispanic Heritage Month ran from September 15th through October 15th, and Osseo area schools celebrated in a few different ways. All community members were welcome to attend the Family and Community Engagement Department's Hispanic Heritage Month celebration October 5th at Park Center Senior High School, where attendees enjoyed food, music, and celebrated Hispanic culture and history. Additionally, Palmer Lake Elementary School recognized the event with a Hispanic Heritage Month Museum for students to visit and learn about important events within Hispanic cultures. Students at Rice Lake Elementary and Osseo Middle School wore orange on October 16th to celebrate Unity Day, uniting for kindness, acceptance, and inclusion to prevent students from being bullied.
At Rice Lake Elementary School, students wrote down ways that they can show kindness to their fellow classmates on an orange piece of paper. The classes then connected the pieces of paper together in a link. Rhodey, the mascot, visited all of the classrooms as they worked on this project. At Osseo Middle School, students in the Unified Advisory class chalked the sidewalks, writing inspiring messages that included kindness and acceptance. They also planned a mural that will display further messages of inclusion. The whole school participated in this event, decorating a small part of the mural. The Unified Advisory students will assemble the mural this week for all students to view. These events were planned in partnership with the Pacer Center. Oakview Elementary School behavior interventionist ESP Stephanie Halverson started using Move Mindfully techniques or moving your body to explore your emotions after noticing more kids were coming into the school's intervention room feeling emotionally dysregulated. After seeing the initial success, Halverson applied for a grant and received $5,000 from Hennepin County Public Health Promotion, allowing her and Oakview's new principal, Ryan Gibbs, to bring in Move Mindfully coaching and expand it school-wide, including at the new monthly Husky Pride assemblies that Principal Gibbs will lead each month.
Zanewood Community Esteemed Schools Fall Engineering Night has become a beloved tradition for the school community and the school's dedicated partner organizations. Families came together on September 26th to enjoy food, games, robots, virtual reality, and other STEAM-related activities. During the week of September 16 through 20, elementary school students across the district participated in Bus Safety Week. Kindergartners in Mrs. Johnson's class at Basswood Elementary School and in classes at other elementary schools learned where to stand to wait for the bus, how to get on and off, and how to sit and act while riding the bus. Students also watched a video in their library media centers called Bus Safety, It's Everyone's Job, to learn more about the importance of bus safety. A group of Park Center Senior High juniors and seniors from the school's Community-Based Vocational Assessment and Training, or CVBAT program, recently attended a career exploration field trip with nVent Hoffman, a company that designs and manufactures systems that protect electrical systems and electronic controls. Osseo Area Schools Adult Basic Education, or ABE, launched additional classes this fall in response to a growing community need to help adults gain skills to support their personal, academic, and career goals. The ABE program expansion includes increasing courses offered in driver's education, citizenship, and computer skills from summer-only offerings to now include fall and spring semester opportunities. Emily Watts, ABE program coordinator, said, "We are always looking to improve programming that is responsive to the needs of our community and students, and are excited to offer some of our most popular summer classes throughout the year now."
DARE officers in training recently spoke with students at Elm Creek Elementary School to talk about life skills for success. Officer Laurel Slauson said, we're talking in these classrooms about stress and dealing with stress and anxiety, talking about communication and being confident in your communication. We're also talking about ways to handle bullying, about ways to resist peer pressure. In the area of mission-driven employees, the Osseo Area Schools custodial team does so much to keep our schools and grounds in good working order for students, staff, and the community. This year, we celebrated the team on October 2nd. If you see a custodial worker, make sure to thank them for all that they do. Elizabeth Zhang, a staff development teacher with the district's Student Services Department, served as a distinguished guest panelist at the 2024 Check and Connect Global Reach Conference on September 26 at the University of Minnesota's McNamara Alumni Center. The conference seeks to bring together hundreds of collaborators who are dedicated to boosting student engagement. Osseo area schools recognize National School Lunch Week, the week of October 14th through the 18th. In schools across the district, our nutrition services team works diligently every day to provide meals.
A few final notes and reminders for this evening. Looking for that perfect school fit? This is your chance to explore all grade levels from early childhood to high school, including our magnet and online programs. Whether you're new to the district or if you have enrollment questions or just want to learn about your child's schools or other schools that we have in our district, we got everything in one place for you. Join us on Saturday, November 16th from 9 a.m. to noon at Osseo Senior High for our first ever school choice fair. So thank you, and that concludes tonight's superintendent report.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is school board reports. Director Brooks, do you have a report?
I do not have a report. My first committee meeting is this week.
Okay, thank you. Director Douglas, do you have a report or update?
I do not.
Director Simons.
I do. I have the October 8th, 2024 Policy Committee Summary Report. At the meeting, we reviewed and discussed half of the remaining policies from the 400 series. These included reviewing and discussing proposed edits to policies and procedures for 403, discipline, suspension, and dismissal of school district employees, 421, gifts to district personnel, 443, tutoring of students, and 435, qualification of personnel. We also reviewed and discussed the proposed repeal of policy 448, workers' compensation, a one-line policy that states that the district will provide workers' compensation as required by statute, as a policy change does not change or add that requirement. We also reviewed and discussed a new policy required by recent legislation related to school-sponsored publications and the First Amendment rights that student journalists have that must be reflected in policy. This will be a new policy for the district and is policy 512, school-sponsored student publication and activities. The last policy review and discussion was proposed edits and the addition of procedures to policy 505, student cell phone and technology. We heard about the feedback from students, principals, school staff, parents, and community members. Because of the importance and level of interest by our community, we asked administration to seek feedback based on the edits to the policy and procedures which are new. That feedback will be available at the next regular board meeting. All of these policies were moved forward for their November regular board meeting for a first reading.
Thank you. Director Mitchell.
Not at this time.
Director Grady.
No, not at this time.
Okay. And at this time, I do not have a report or update. The next agenda item is the consent agenda. Board members, our consent agenda items this evening include meeting minutes and financial reports for September 24, fiscal year 25 budget adjustment, extended educational trips, personnel items, construction bid approvals, and we have 25 grants requiring approval as well. Are there any items that you would like to remove for separate consideration? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed?
So moved.
Moved by Director Brooks, is there a second? Second by Director Mitchell. Is there any discussion? I just want to say thank you to all the people that spent hours and hours of time writing grants so that our students have extra opportunities. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. Our first action item tonight is the second reading of policies. General Counsel Amy Moore will share the information for all policies up for second reading, and then we'll act on each policy individually. Amy, you're on.
All right, so you want me to go through all the policies, or do you want them one by one?
It is written here to go through all of them, but I would prefer to go one at a time.
Yep.
Thank
So
you.
we'll start with 432, which is teacher involuntary transfer process, and this policy is being proposed for repeal because this is addressed in collective bargaining agreements.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of policy 432, teacher involuntary transfer proposed for repeal as presented?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Tamara Grady, second.
Second.
Second by Director Prince. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. All right, the next policy.
The next policy then is 441, Digital Technologies and Digital Systems Responsible Use. As we discussed last time, the updates to this policy were done to reflect what is responsible use, what you should do versus all the prohibitions that were the main changes to the policy. We haven't received any feedback since the first reading and publishing for the past month.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of policy 441, Digital Technologies and Digital Systems Acceptable Use, proposed edits as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Director Brooks. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Director Grady. Is there any discussion? And I just want to clarify that this is the policy and there are procedures, and we do have curriculum that teaches kids how to responsibly use digital media, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point. We had a lot of discussion in policy committee about kind of what other things were taking place in the district and where all of that was outlined. So I want to be really clear, all of those things are still present in our district.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next policy.
The next policy is Policy 507, Corporal Punishment and Prone Restraint. And due to legislation clarifying school resource officers and who is and is not a employee or agent of the district, we updated with the changes that you see. We have also not received any input since the first reading and posting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of policy 507, corporal punishment and prone restraint statutory updates as presented?
Sorry, longer than I thought it was.
So moved. Sorry. All right. Motion by Director Grady. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Brooks. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next.
Next policy, 640, class size and student teacher staffing ratio. This is one we're also proposing for repeal because it is now negotiated through the collective bargaining process by statute.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of policy 640, class size and student teacher staffing ratio, proposed for repeal as presented?
So moved.
All right, moved by Director Douglas and a second by Director Prince. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0.
All right, so the last one then we have is policy 652, instructional and library materials selection and reevaluation. And you have two sets of the policies, and we're also including the procedures, the form, and the guidelines, so everyone can see all of the updates that we are proposing. The first set that starts on page 269 and then goes through page 285 is what has been posted and was discussed at the first reading. Since that meeting, through feedback and questions from the directors and discussion, we did do some updates that are then highlighted. And that's the second set, which starts on 286 and goes through the end there to 302. And so I am recommending that the policy with those updates that starts on page 286 is one that the board would consider for approval tonight. The updates that you can see are, well, one was a bit of a miss on the policy, was removing and production. We discussed that at the last board meeting. Somehow after reading it a million times, I still miss that, so that was one. We did make further clarification then in section 6 saying that a parent or guardian could make the request in writing or verbally to the principal or library media specialist. That's practically how it's working currently, but putting that clarity in there. And then reflecting the same order of our community who can voice concerns or objections. We made sure it was the same order in the policy and the procedures. So you see that reflected as an update in section 8 there. Those are the changes since last time in the policy. We did also do some updates in the procedure and forms. Some were grammatical. Probably one of the bigger changes or updates we made that we thought was a really great idea was that when the coordinator of digital learning and instruction media was supposed to select someone, that position would also include the director of learning and achievement and director of educational equity. So it's a team making that decision. We also encourage that for those selecting individuals to be on the district evaluation committee, that they consider appointing different individuals to the extent that that's available to them, because we value that diversity and variety of input. And like I said, some of the other updates were kind of more grammatical. Those were the main ones. This is a policy that started our review in December of 2023. Went through 3 policy committees. We've received a great deal of feedback. There's been a lot of discussion. What you see before you is a compromise to some folks, but I think it reflects an improvement from where we have been. It provides clarity. We will be digitizing the form, making it more accessible. We will put guidelines that folks can see how the committee works as well. So it has been a long process, but I think overall it's been really good, and we've been able to input a lot of really good, I think, productive feedback into the policy. It is a reminder to the board that you're voting only on the policy tonight, not the procedures. Regardless of what happens tonight on the vote for the policy, the procedure language will get updated because that is under administration to do. And I think, like I said, a lot of the updates are really productive and help in kind of clarity and transparency.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to, let me read the whole thing. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of the policy 652 revised after the first reading, published on the district website as agenda item 12.A.3.B.2?
So moved.
Motion by Director Brooks, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Prince. Any discussion?
Yes, I just would like to start by saying that I really appreciate the policy committee's time, effort, and their diligence in creating the revisions to policy 652. The policy revisions provide for enhanced checks and balances to ensure the highest educational standards are adhered to. And that's why I'll be voting to approve this revised policy tonight.
Other comments or discussions?
So we spent a lot of time talking about this at the last meeting, so it was a little surprising to find that there were a fair number of people who felt like this was the first time that they were learning about it, especially from staff members who reached out and asked about why they were receiving an email about the board reviewing a book banning policy tonight. So that was very unfortunate that there's been confusion created and misinformation since we've been working on this since December. So if this is new information to you, I invite you to go back and review last meeting's detailed information. All of our policy committee meetings are open to the public. We've had a number of people participating in that, which is really good for that transparency and seeing the discussion taking place. So we've definitely had robust discussion, and as we stated last time, I think our goal was to make improvements for the benefit of everybody in the district and those participating in the process. So that's my comments at this particular time.
Anyone else?
I would like to. Go ahead, Heather.
No, it's right. You go first.
Like many of you, I don't like book bans. And I am grateful for all the work of our system for giving feedback on this policy. Books are important. The part that I have the most objection to in this is library materials should be available for all students. And they should have the freedom to read what matches their interests. The part that's controversial, I guess, tonight, that we have a lot of feelings about, is really talking about what materials are available in the library for all students to read, to have the freedom to read what they want, when they want, what's appropriate. And regarding what's appropriate, we have qualified media specialists who go to school and have training to be able to do this. So this isn't just an attempt to pull away rights of students, but also pulls away from the confidence that we have in our system and our teachers. Parents in this policy have the right to restrict the reading of their child. They have the right to talk to the librarian. They have the right to bring it to the school committee. If they don't like the result on that, they can bring it to the district committee. What I object to is the political push, since we pushed for our district to recognize the humanity of LGBTQ students.
The rules of our board are to focus discussion on the merits of the policy. So I would just like to again remind us to consider our discussion to stay focused on that versus claims or projections or conjecture about intent of community members or people who have participated in the process.
Thank you once again for interrupting me. Parents have the right to decide what their kids read. That's not been taken away. It's there. But parents don't have the right to decide what other kids are reading. I have a right as a parent too. And I want my kids to have the freedom to read whatever they want to. That's deemed appropriate by our library professionals. The problem with where this policy is at right now is it comes on the heels of, I had forgotten about the first book banning. I believe that was about Trevor Noah 3 years ago, but even in the last year and a half is the consistent political agenda against books that represent LGBTQ students. And it's not just about LGBTQ students, because from when folks come to ban books about one marginalized community, they come for another. And that's exactly what has happened with the next book that is coming through our system, which is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Now, I get that this is a fear-based political campaign that is working to gross parents out about sex. But there's nothing grosser than coming to a school board meeting and reading these passages out loud. These are things that students ought to have the opportunity. And as somebody mentioned, only 3 students had mentioned it. We've got a point in our district and in our country right now where folks are talking about academic excellence. And there's nothing further than promoting academic excellence than nitpicking over books that children may or may not choose to read. And for those reasons, I object to the community part of being able, any community member, again, this is a parent's rights, any community member coming into a school district and initiating a book challenge on what's going on in our books. That should be a parent's right. That should be a student's right. And once again, if our books have passed at the building level and at the district level, why would they need to come to the school board unless it is part of a concerted, coordinated effort to remove books from our system, to ban marginalized identities, and to remove the academic freedom for our students to learn, to read, and learn about themselves, and having all marginalized identities within our very diverse district be respected and supported, because no child can achieve academic excellence when their identity is being erased. Thank you.
Heather? Yes. First, I'd like to say thank you to General Counsel Aileen Moore and district staff for answering my numerous questions after the last reading, or the first reading, I'm sorry. And I wanted to recognize I really appreciate the changes that were made to the reevaluation committee section in procedure 652B for creating more transparency and clarity around committee selection. And thank you to our policy committee members for their work on this policy. You've been working on it for quite a long time, so thank you. As a board, we have received many inquiries and comments regarding perceived changes to this policy, many of which correlate to comments made after the first reading of the policy. Erroneous statements have been repeatedly made by Director Grady, leading to widespread misinformation regarding this policy.
Point of order.
Specifically, that this policy was created.
Heather, excuse me, point of order.
No.
Please don't,
These are public comments that were made. I can respond to them.
You don't have to say the director.
I didn't
called
say
me
the
by
director.
name.
I said Director Grady. She's the one who made the comments.
Isn't
And
that
they
against our
were
code of conduct?
erroneous. No, it's not. I can respond to your comments.
We do typically allow for exchange among members. Let's be sure to keep things as clear as possible.
Leading to widespread information regarding this policy, specifically that this policy was created to erase LGBTQ identities from our libraries, and that the purpose of the policy is to ban books. This is simply not the case. As stated in the policy, the school board recognizes that instructional and library materials serve a vital component of each student's education. Library materials enrich the breadth of curriculum as a whole and meet the needs of students' interests, individual interests of students. I stand behind those words wholeheartedly as a board member. It's also important to acknowledge that school boards are required by Minnesota statute to create policies to serve the needs of the school district and are responsible for the adoption of instructional materials, including books and other materials. This policy was originally introduced into our district in 1981 as Policy 6401. It's been revised twice before it was recategorized into the current 600 series as Policy 652 in 2003. It was revised one additional time in 2019 prior to being brought back to the Policy Committee for reevaluation in 2023. Please note that the language regarding those who have the right to express concern or object to materials has always included district residents. This is not a change to the policy. I share this history because numerous stakeholders have been misled to believe that this policy has been newly developed to ban books, particularly after the adoption of the LGBTQIA+ resolution, which we passed in 2022. This policy was brought to the Policy Committee in December of 2023 as part of the Policy Committee's regular 3-year evaluation cycle, a process that was developed to maintain clear and equitable policies that align with both state statutes and our district's mission and vision. In compliance with Minnesota State Statute 120B11 Subdivision 3, which states, each school board must establish an advisory committee to ensure active community participation in all phases of planning and improving the instruction and curriculum affecting state and district academic standards, consistent with Subdivision 2. A district advisory committee, to the extent possible, must reflect the diversity of the district and its school sites, including teachers, parents, support staff, students, and other community residents. And goes on to say that whenever possible, parents and community residents must comprise 2/3 of the community committee membership. Our district committee is called DPAC, the District Planning Advisory Council. DPAC and its members play a vital role in the material review plan, which makes its recommendations to the full board. As an example of the board's trust in its leadership of its community and staff. Director Grady made comments suggesting that community members should have no say in the selection and reevaluation process of instructional and library materials. Those comments are in direct conflict with Minnesota state statute. This board has a duty to uphold the rights of community residents in this process. The reevaluation process is an important aspect of this policy and needs to be available to all of our stakeholders. I appreciate the community's input in regarding putting trust in our very capable staff. While the board is charged with the selection of instructional materials, we place our trust in our superintendent and her designated staff to select materials that are both enriching, engaging, and age appropriate. During my tenure, district staff have recommended and implemented curriculum that has later been identified as inappropriate content that did not align with our mission and our vision, and had taken steps to remove this content, those materials. In those cases, a formal reevaluation process was not required because the decision makers in those instances were all in agreement. If there had not been agreement, a formal process may have been necessary. It's important that a procedure for when parties disagree on instructional materials is established so we maintain a clear and transparent process should the need arise. Furthermore, our district is funded by taxpayer dollars. Not all taxpayers are parents, but all taxpayers and residents have a vested stake in our district and a fundamental right to participate in the process. We will rely on our community for a great many things, including passing referendums and bonds, in addition to property taxes, so that we might better serve our students. The majority of our voting community members are not parents, but they are our stakeholders just as much as any parent, student, or district employee. We all have the right to have our voices heard. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. So I also just want to shout out General Counsel Amy Moore, not just for keeping all of our edits together and neat, but also for your facilitation of some pretty contentious policy committee meetings, and for always bringing, I think, a calm presence to those discussions and keeping us moving forward. I am really disappointed in what this has become. This has become more than what the content is of this policy, and this regularly scheduled review of policies that we do every single year. This has somehow turned into some bigger political, ideological debate about book banning. And while we can certainly entertain a discussion about book banning, which I am against, right now I want to focus on the content of this policy that we spend so much time working on. We spend a lot of time in policy committee talking about all of our policies, and a lot of our wish list items don't actually make it into the policy. We work to build consensus on the things that we do agree with. We work with staff to understand what their capacity is and what they can actually move forward, and what's able to make it into a policy and then onto the board is what actually makes it to the board. I have a pretty high threshold for removing a book from a public library, and we haven't met that threshold yet. I made the decision to bring this policy forward in policy committee along with Director Prince because I do believe that the community has a vested interest in our school district. And if they don't, they should. If I look back just a year and a community member actually beat me to it, if I look back just a year, the district was out in the community telling residents how important their role is in supporting the success of our district and scholars, as we had our hands out for money at that time. And today it's being proposed that we give the exact opposite message to residents, that their voice doesn't matter in this process. So we'll take your money, but your voice doesn't matter. As long as I've been on this board, we've worked to build an inclusive culture. We talk a lot about inclusion on this board. We also talk a lot about elevating community engagement. We continue to talk about engagement, and I want us to invest more in it. And I worry about the dangerous direction that we're going in by intentionally excluding certain groups of community members from policy, particularly because we don't like or agree with who they are or what they have to say. With that said, I know for quite some time, since the gender inclusion policy and the LGBTQ history and culture resolution, there have been numerous occasions where people have come into this room and made some pretty harmful comments to LGBTQ students and staff, comments that are deeply rooted in bigotry and hatred, and it's not okay. But I also believe that this policy works both ways. And just as community members have been in here to advocate for their scholars, for whatever their reasons are, I think it works both ways. In just a few months, Director Grady, half of our school board is actually going to roll off this board. And this entire board is going to look completely different. And any community member should be able to come forward and have a voice and ask questions about what we're doing in our district. If I look back even at my own past and history, as a kid, whether that was a younger kid in church or with my large extended family that was very hands-on, or whether it was as an older youth, even having to come to terms with my own identity in the LGBTQ community, and what that meant in a social aspect or professional aspect or in a school setting. It was actually community members that stood up for me and advocated and were my ally, and that actually mentored me throughout all of that time. And I think any of our students should be able to have that. I would hope that someone like Director Grady or Director Mosqueda Jones or any of the other members that are sitting in here today would take the time to advocate for a student that needs them. And so for me, I am gonna support this policy language as I originally did when I voted to move it forward to this board. I am willing and continue to be open to continuing the discussion and continuing to evaluate this policy. I don't think our work is done. As I mentioned, we had a lot of discussion and not everything necessarily made it into what you see here today, but that's how policy committee works. So with that said, I'll be supporting it.
Director Brooks, thank you so much for modeling our values and the mission of our district and everything you just said.
Anything else? Okay, so I just wanted to make a few comments. In looking at this policy revision and the original policy and the original practices, I don't see much difference between the two versions of the policy, or at least the practice of what we've been doing originally. I think I have issues with some of the procedure pieces, and I'm going to continue to voice my opinion about that. But the reality is the procedure is the purview of the district administration and the designees and the people with highly qualified, educated, experienced backgrounds. As a teacher, I want parent feedback. I want parent input. And in the end, the decision needs to be mine as the educator and my supervisors, because I am the one with the expertise. But that doesn't mean I don't hear the voices. It doesn't mean I don't change my mind. I might change my mind. But to really listen and sit and hold space for people. And I trust that our district personnel will do that as well. I've worked with this administration and the previous one for 6 years now. I only have 2 more months left. And I'm really saddened that people's identity has been politicized in general. And I'm trying to figure out from a governance position, I'm on the policy committee in 287, and it's always been very clear that we vote on the policy, not the procedures. The procedures is operational. So when I look at this, and I'm looking only at the policy, I don't see really anything that has changed from the original policy, aside for some definitions and the criteria of the selection of library materials, which is already in process through the procedures that our esteemed library media specialists go through. So for that reason, I don't see a need to have to vote for this new policy, because it doesn't seem to make any difference. And I would like to make sure that all the voices are heard. I'm hearing from educators that they didn't feel like their voices were heard, and I understand they had a month. I also understand that September is crazy for teachers. And so to have had that time to really look into this and dig into it and give feedback, I would like to have a little more feedback before I would vote yes for this. And I'm not voting no just on principle, but that it just isn't really changing anything. So I don't understand, I just don't understand. So any other comments before we move forward? All right, with that, let me get my procedures over here. We are at the point where we vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-2, sorry. The final action item is gifts to the district. Is there a motion to approve the gifts to the district totaling $99,385.42? We were so close.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Thank you, thank you, thank you. The motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. There will not be a negotiation strategies closed session this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at whatever time it is, 7:49 p.m.?
So moved.
Motion by Director Douglas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Prince. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0, and we are officially adjourned.
Your comments were really good. Seriously.